back to another segment of Flip the Odds. This week, my favorite guests. I have my roommates, Jason and Minh-Tu. If you guys want to introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Minh-Tu.
Hi, I'm Jason, and we are Ethan's roommates.
Yep, they're the best. So this is going to be episode 7. A little bit of a troll one. Later, Matthew, one of our housemates, is going to be replacing Minh-Tu for the basketball segment. But I want to go into last week's recap and then week 11 predictions, where they will come in very well. So for week 10, not the best of weeks in terms of my predictions. Obviously, I'm hoping next week is better as we're comparing it to these guys. But we went 6 for 8. Now our all-time is 59 and 43. Our locks were iffy. We went 2 for 2. Dallas lost to Green Bay, and Philly lost to Washington. I did predict that there was upset potential in the divisional game between Washington and Philly. Didn't actually think it would happen, but I knew it would be a close game. So I did take them as winning, and they lost, but not too bad overall. And some locks and predictions that I have for week 11 coming up. So I have 4 locks and 2 upsets. My first lock is Washington at Houston at minus 160. You can't really fade Washington this week. One, because they're going against a very weak Houston team with not much certainty in their quarterback. And 2, Washington is coming off a very, very solid upset against the only undefeated team last week. So they shut down the Eagles very well. Their defense held up until the end. And I think Washington beats Houston. I think Denver also beats the Raiders at minus 140. Last time it was a iffy game. When giving up a lot of points, it happened to be the Raiders. They pretty much hold every team under 20 besides them. And I think with PS2 holding Davante pretty well, it shouldn't be too big of a deal considering maybe Darren Waller's out and Hunter Renfrow isn't playing. So I don't think Derek Carr is going to have the best game. And I think as long as Russell Wilson is able to produce anything, just a little bit, Denver will come off with a dub. All he really has to do is get 2 or 3 touchdowns. It was very frustrating seeing them play this week. I was actually watching with my dad, and it was very painful. Every time he had the ball, it looked like he was too scared to throw it away. If needed, he took a lot of sacks. Not a very fun sight to see, but at some point he will be back to his old self. As Justin said last week, Russ Wilson is not a bum. So I'm hoping this is a week that we see him change. And I also have Cincy at Pittsburgh minus 210. Cincy's a great team. I think Joe Burrow's feeling it. He doesn't have Jamar Chase, but with that being said, Joe Mixon's coming off an insane game before their bye week. And, all he has to do is put up a mediocre performance. Although I do think Kenny Pickett is feeling himself and doing really, really well after that New Orleans game. I still think Cincy comes out on top. And lastly, I have Baltimore versus Carolina at minus 620. The biggest favorite on my list so far. But, I'm hoping that Mark Andrews comes back this week for fantasy purposes. But, Carolina's not a very good team. They're not doing too bad after CMC left, but they're not good enough to beat the Ravens. And with my 2 upsets this week, I have Tennessee at Green Bay at plus 145 in 2 days on Thursday Night Football. Green Bay had a very good win, I will say. I did not expect them to be the Cowboys. As you saw, they were one of my locks. But, I don't think Aaron Rodgers is in a happy place. And I think one win isn't going to flip all of that. So, Tennessee, I think Derrick Henry will be back in his groove. The Denver defense kind of held him to very low. I think somewhere in the 50s in terms of yardage. But, he'll be back. Ryan Tannehill is much better than Malik Willis, as we saw. So I think they win by, at least 3. And then second for my upsets, I have the Vikings versus the Cowboys at plus 104. Kind of amazed me that the Vikings were the underdogs on this one, considering the Cowboys just lost to the Packers and the Vikings pulled off an insane win against the Bills. But yeah, Jay Jettas is looking like he's the number 1 wide receiver in the league, although stats prove that fantasy-wise Tyreek Hill is. But, if Kirk Cousins keeps targeting him, TJ Hawkinson's a great addition. It really comes down to the defense for the Vikings. So, yeah. And hopping into the topics that I wanted to cover, Cooper Kupp and the Rams. Very iffy topic right now. Kupp is in a tough spot. He was just placed on the IR today, and the Rams are playing without Stafford. We did see Allen Robinson get a little bit more action, and I think the run game needs to pick it up a little bit. We saw Cam Akers, Darrell Henderson, they're all like splitting touches. Nothing's too good in my opinion, but I think at this point, if you're the Rams, you deal with it. You worry about next year. I think it's the same spot as Davante Adams and the Raiders. Davante Adams was very hyped up going into the season. He's getting obviously not as good a quarterback as Aaron Rodgers, but Derek Carr is not bad. But he just hasn't produced as much as everybody thought, and the Raiders obviously have been on the losing end of that, as they're the worst in the AFC West behind a very terrible Broncos team. But I think the Raiders, Rams, Broncos, all these teams at the bottom, you kind of got to take a look at what you're going to do next year, who you're going to draft. It's not a good look. I think the Raiders definitely lose this week. There's not really much for them to do, or if they have a chance at the playoffs. I'm pretty sure they're out already. And then, obviously, the last wide receiver and team that I want to take a look at is Justin Jefferson and the Vikings. He was asked in an interview if he was the number one wide receiver, and he said that he proved it this week. I completely agree. I hear a lot of people talking about Tyreek Hill being the number one. As far as fantasy, I think he is, because stats don't really lie. He has the most points put up. He's producing very well weekly. But Justin Jefferson, as far as a pure wide receiver goes, I think he is the best by a long shot at the moment. You kind of see the yardage and the catches that he's putting up against the Bills last week against a very solid pass defense. Not everybody can do that, and not all of the top receivers in the game can do that. So, for example, if you were to put him against any receiver in this game, I'm taking him without a doubt. And very happy for me, Indy took a dub last week. It was Jeff Saturday's first win. He said, if he goes out at the end of the season with a losing record and he doesn't do well, he knows he's bad at it, but he's still going to try. And I appreciate that he put Matt Ryan back in the game. It was a very good decision, and he's obviously got the run game more involved, as Jonathan Taylor seems to be looking pretty healthy again, and he's back, right? So that was a really good sight to see for me. Hoping the pass game stays solid at least. Doesn't have to be spectacular, but give him something. And then the Eagles with a surprising loss to the Commanders. I don't know how that happened. I remember talking to Sonny and Justin, if you guys saw last week, that there was upset potential in this divisional game. But, who really saw it coming? Heineke played very, very well, and I think the Eagles just had way too many turnovers. We saw that they had 3 going into this game and already had 3 in that game alone. Very, very weird game to see, but it's nice to see the Commanders trending upward at this point. And obviously, I let Minh-Tu and Jason take a little bit of a break here, but I wanted to ask, I guess anybody in the comments, their thoughts on Tom Brady's 0 regrets on returning to the football. Someone asked him about his divorce with Giselle and if he would go back and change anything. And obviously, with the answer about him having 0 regrets, was it worth him coming back to the NFL? Because obviously, the Bucs aren't doing that well. They're not bad, but they're not the insane team we thought Tom Brady would lead. But if he has no regrets, I think he should have just stayed out. He doesn't look the same. He's solid, but he doesn't look like the same person he always was. And I don't think he's going to come back and get that ring that he expects to get. I think there's too many powerhouse teams right now that are just higher contenders than the Buccaneers. And, the Texans-Falcons QB situation, the real question for me is it time to switch QBs? I personally think it is, especially for the Texans. For Marcus Mariota and the Falcons, I don't think so. Not quite yet. They're putting up some impressive wins and upsets that no one expected to see. But for Davis Mills, I think it's time to move on. He's not the worst quarterback. I think he'd be a solid 2 option. A QB2 behind anyone in the league. He's a great option. If they go down, he's there. He knows offense and he has experience now. But if you want to win and you're the Texans, you got to change stuff up. You got to look for someone else. If that means drafting one or finding someone off the waivers right now, I think it's got to change. And PS2 versus Davante, one of my favorite, I guess, things to watch for this week. I think PS2 comes out with a more dominant game than Davante Adams does, only because he's been playing very, very well and locking up some pretty good wide receivers. We saw him really lock up Mike Williams that 1 week against the Chargers, and the only real reason I see Davante coming out on top of this is that he's going to have to be targeted an insane amount, even if PS2 is guarding him, because let's be honest, the Raiders have no one else to help Derek Carr. It's going to be Davante Adams, Josh Jacobs, and Derek Carr the entire game, unless Darren Waller comes back. But with that being said, I'm going to hop into my top 10 power rankings. So I have the Kansas City Chiefs at number 1, the Eagles, the Bills, the Ravens, the Vikings, the Dolphins, the Bengals, the 49ers, the New York Giants, and then the Dallas Cowboys. So the Dallas Cowboys fell quite a bit. Interesting loss to the Packers. The Bills obviously fell as well, but it kind of ties in. You see everything, and you think KC is at number 1. They look very, very powerful. It's so convincing when they win, and obviously Jacksonville did put up quite a bit of runs against them, but the Chiefs overall are pretty dominant, and I think a lot of that's due to Patrick Mahomes. He's proving that as of right now, he is a top MVP candidate and will probably continue to be there thus far. And so for fantasy football, I put, obviously I had 3 people who I wanted to question, and my person who I had lined up, or my special guest who I had lined up for fantasy football this week could not show. It's unfortunate, but I will, pick up with fantasy football next week in terms of the reliable or unreliable segment. But I do have some pickups that I think are worth picking up. Nico Collins, wide receiver at Houston, is coming off a game with really big targets with Brandon Cooks as a lesser option. So he had 10 targets, and if that continues to happen, you don't have to start him this week. It might be a little bit of a tough week, but if they continue Davis Mills, he might be a solid option at the flex. So second, I have Kenny Pickett, Pittsburgh's quarterback. He's looking very solid. It's looking awfully comfortable out there. He rushed 8 times for 51 yards last week and a touchdown in those rushes, and passed for 199 yards and no interceptions. So, he was going against a weak New Orleans defense, but I think he's a good option off the bench if you need to start someone here and there. I wouldn't start him this week. Last week I did say to pick up and start Justin Fields, but that's because he's a very run-heavy quarterback, and that proves very, very helpful and good in fantasy football, right? But Kenny Pickett, I think, is just a solid extra option if you need. Sleepers to start this week, I think Zay Jones, Jacksonville's wide receiver. He's coming off a game with 68 yards on 10 targets, 8 receptions. He's a very, very reliable pass catcher and is Trevor Lawrence's best option besides Christian Kirk. We saw Christian Kirk get all the action last week, and he still came out with 68 yards. So I think he's a solid flex option that relies heavily on Trevor Lawrence's gameplay that day. And second, I have Darrell Henderson Jr. He's carrying the rush game with the only touchdown last week, even though the touches were pretty evenly split between the 3 backs that they have. He's going against a very weak New Orleans defense. They're bottom 8 in terms of yardage allowed at 1,305 yards so far, and bottom 10 in rushing TDs allowed at 11. So if Stafford doesn't play again, and obviously with Kupp on the IR, hopefully they lean more towards the run game. They obviously still have Allen Robinson, they have Higbee, but maybe they change stuff up a little bit and look for different ways to win. I will also be resuming rapid fire player versus player comparison for the NFL next week. I have a good group of guys who I want to reintroduce next week. You've seen them before, but we will be skipping that as for this week. And yeah, okay, so I will run down my predictions for this week, and then I'm just going to be listing the names of the teams, and both of them are going to be telling me who they think is going to win. If one of them does better than my predictions, the record for this upcoming week, I'll be getting both of them boba. So either one of them has to, actually I'll get them a meal. So either one of them has to do better than me. Only one of them. If both of them do better, that's embarrassing. But
one of them boba, and then if both of us get better, then the meal.
Okay, deal. That works.
Just with the meal.
We can't just like swindle him like that because we're gonna beat him.
Okay. So you know what? First, I want to do your predictions, so you guys can't copy me. Got it?
You're trying to copy us.
Cannot. Okay, so
He's copied us.
I'm gonna list the teams, and you guys tell me who you think's gonna win.
So do each of us say we just our own opinion?
Yeah.
Or do we have to consult each other?
No. You guys have 2 different teams,
Oh, okay.
but you're not going against each other. That makes sense. You're going against me.
If you choose one, I just choose the other.
Right. Tennessee versus Green Bay. Who do you think's gonna win? Do you want the mascots?
Yeah.
Okay, so the Titans versus the Packers. You probably never heard of these teams before.
I'm going Packers.
Packers.
Well, my first instinct was Packers, but should I go Titans?
No, that's fine.
Let's go both Packers.
Okay.
Packers.
Trust.
Do you want me to always say the full team name?
Yeah, I only know the
Okay.
mascots.
Chicago Bears versus the Atlanta Falcons.
Falcons. I go with Falcons.
Bears.
Okay. Cleveland Browns or the Buffalo Bills?
The Bills. Yeah.
Bills. Philadelphia Eagles or the Indianapolis Colts?
Eagles.
I'll go Colts.
Colts, okay. You lose that one.
Yeah. Watch. It's an upset.
The New York Jets or the New England Patriots?
Patriots.
I go the Patriots.
Not bad. The Rams or the Saints?
The
Rams.
Saints.
Okay. The Detroit Lions or the New York Giants?
Lions.
Lions.
Okay.
Lions.
The Carolina Panthers or the Baltimore Ravens?
Ravens.
I'm gonna go Ravens.
Okay, good pick. Washington Commanders or the Houston Texans?
Commanders.
I'm gonna go Commanders. Yeah.
It's
good pick.
The
It's a good
word
pick.
Commander.
The Texans suck too. So, the Raiders or the Broncos?
Raiders. They're my hometown, man.
Broncos, the Broncos.
You can say the Raiders, and I'll bring you to Froggies this weekend, and we'll be rooting against 2 different teams. Okay. So you say Broncos?
No, I'm switching to the
Raiders? Okay, you guys both
We're
have
from
Raiders.
Oakland. We have to choose Raiders.
True. So the Dallas Cowboys and what happened?
They moved.
Yeah, sure. The Dallas Cowboys or the Minnesota Vikings?
Vikings. Because they're in a Lizzo song.
Wait, you said Cowboys? So different ones there. The Cincinnati Bengals or the Pittsburgh Steelers?
Steelers.
Bengals.
You lose that one for sure. That's a lock of mine. The Kansas City Chiefs or the LA Chargers?
Chiefs.
Chargers.
Okay. And the last one, next Monday, the 49ers.
49ers.
You guys know them?
Yeah,
Or the
49ers.
Cardinals?
The Cardinals.
Okay, I guess like a little background. They are from the Bay Area, which is why they chose Oakland even though they left, and the Niners from SF. And I'll run through mine. You guys can kind of see how different we are if you guys remember. So I have the Titans beating Green Bay. I have the Falcons beating the Bears. The Bills beating the Browns. I have the Eagles beating the Colts. The Patriots beating the Jets. The Rams beating the... No, wait, actually. I have the Saints beating the Rams. The Giants beating Detroit. The Ravens beating the Panthers. The Commanders beating the Texans. The Broncos over the Raiders. The Vikings over the Cowboys. The Bengals over Steelers. The Chiefs over the Chargers. And then the Niners over Arizona. So if it comes to Monday Night Football, we both have the same pick. So hopefully there's a little bit of a disparity between those two. But I'm pretty sure I win already, just by some of the picks. We'll see. Huh?
Upsets are happening.
Upsets are happening. I have some upsets in there. Actually, holy, I have one upset happening.
Which one?
I have the Vikings winning.
Broncos.
No, I have 2. So I have Vikings and Titans winning, which obviously might be better for you guys because upsets always happen. But with that being said, I asked you guys a little bit earlier to take out your phones and have PrizePicks open, right? I want you guys to give 3 players, and you can see passing yards, rushing yards, and receiving yards at the top, right? Choose a random player if you like their name, like the way they look, anyone, and tell me if you think they're going to go over or under a certain number.
All right, so I know Patrick Mahomes, and then his passing yards is 295.5.
Why
And
is
I
it so
feel like that's
high?
pretty high, right?
And then if you want to see the past few games, there's the top left. You can see the last 5 games.
Top left.
Oh. I was about to say under for Patrick Mahomes, but now that I look at his past few games, I'm gonna go over.
Okay.
That guy's a god.
So there's one.
Because even I know his name.
Oh,
So
I see. Wow.
yeah. Like if I know his name, that's
He's 4 for 5 in the last 5 games, averaging over 300. So
The only other name I recognize is Russell Wilson.
okay, what do you think? What's his number? What's his prop at?
Average. Oh, okay. Over.
Over what? Yeah, you didn't tell me the line.
Pass yards.
No,
230 points.
she's a rookie. If you guys couldn't tell, she's not good at this
I don't
stuff.
understand the term.
Okay, so the line or like the line is the number that it's at.
Okay, 230.5.
Over.
Over.
Okay. You realize that's going against your Raiders, right?
Okay.
We'll take it. That's good for me if he goes over. But he could go over, but the Raiders do really well, so you know.
He's the Raiders.
No, he's going against the Raiders. So if he goes over 230, ideally it means that the offense was doing pretty well, right? And so that typically means your team has to do even better than him.
It's still possible.
Yeah, it's possible. It's definitely possible.
Yeah.
There's teams who've lost like putting up 400 yards passing, you know. So, okay, give me 2 more.
I'm gonna go Matt Ryan, 235.5 over.
Okay, interesting. He's on the Colts, so that's good for you.
Yeah.
You guys can always change to rush yards and receiving yards. So you're looking at quarterbacks right now. They're throwing yards, and then the so that's pass yards. Rush yards are running backs or quarterbacks when they get handed off the ball and they run. And receivers, obviously, catching the ball.
Michael Pittman Jr.
She's trolling me right now. You know I like him.
60.5 receiving yards. Ooh. I'm gonna go under.
I knew it. He's going over, I promise you. He goes over.
Really?
That's not one of my locks, but you want to say under?
So
Under Michael Pittman, 60.5.
Actually, I have faith. Over.
Over? Okay. That's actually tough because if you don't know, the Eagles have a really good like pass defense, so it would be pretty tough for him to hit that. So as I was saying, Pittman, as much as I love him, he might actually go under because he's been on a downward trend, and then you see he's playing a very good defense, which obviously that doesn't mean much to you. But so you want under or over?
Over.
Over? Okay, so that's 2 for Minh-Tu, 2 for Jason. You got one more?
Give me a second. Let's
Okay.
look.
And then keep in mind, for the people watching, we're doing this on a Tuesday, so the only props out right now are pass yards, rush yards, and receiving yards. So you can't take a look at any of the 10 other options that come closer to game day. But, yeah, I mean, you got one more left.
I'll go with Jamal Williams.
Jamal Williams, okay. On the Detroit Lions, we like it. His prop is at 60.5 rush yards. You think he's going to go over or under?
I'm gonna guess over.
Over, okay. Not a bad pick. I'm impressed.
Thank you. I know.
I wouldn't take it, but
Why not?
I mean, I just don't think you saying over is a bad pick. But I think it's too inconsistent with his current situation.
I'm just trying to follow the pattern.
Okay. You can show the camera the pattern you're trying to follow right now.
Gotta be over.
Okay, you got one?
Alright. And then my last one's going to be Aaron Rodgers, 237.5 pass yards, and I'm going to say over.
237.5. Okay. Let me take a look. That's actually Thursday Night Football, so I'll be watching that, and I can update you with how it goes. But yeah, okay. So I'll hop into mine, and then obviously I kind of like take a deeper dive. I'll do that real quick, and then you guys are good to go.
We're going to get Boba after this.
No way. So, okay, well, you guys can, while I'm saying this, you guys can kind of come up with like a reward or like a reward or punishment if you guys don't get your, like, you guys have to hit at least 2 out of your 3.
We have a punishment?
We hit a punishment?
Okay, maybe not punishment, just reward. Okay, reward if you hit all 3.
Oh, man.
Oh, okay.
Okay, but just think about it because I'll be explaining. So for my props last week, I went 0 for 3. Derrick Henry and Mike Evans were very, very off. And TJ Hawkinson was right at 45. He did not hit the over as it was 45.5. But that was my worst week since week 6. Derek Carr, under 245.5 pass yards. Reason being, Denver defense ranks number 1 in pass yards allowed per game. They average around 174. So 245, even though he's a solid quarterback, is a little too high for the Denver defense. The only way I take the over is if it's at 195, 200. So under. And on top of that, Darren Waller is supposedly having a lack of fight to return from his injury, and it doesn't help that Hunter Renfrow is still out. I think the big thing that we want to take a look at this weekend is PS2 versus Davante Adams. I think if Patrick Surtain can lock him up, there's no way Derek Carr goes over. It doesn't make any sense why that line is even there. Second one, Stephon Diggs, over 87.5 receiving yards. Usually I hate taking things that seem too obvious. He's hit all the last 5 games way over, but he's only not hit in 2 of the games this season. So in those games, he's still put up a solid fight for this specific line. So I think it should be okay. He averages 10 targets a game and has 7 receptions on an average of 92 yards for those. It seems pretty low for me, but the Browns defense isn't the worst. They're not the best, but they're not the worst. So I think it really depends if Josh Allen is feeling comfortable enough to throw the ball. We saw last week, they started off running a lot, and then once he got more comfortable, if that injury doesn't mess with him, I think he will be throwing the ball a lot more. Saquon Barkley, over 98.5 rush yards. Basically has to have a 100-yard rush game. But Detroit has the second worst rush defense in terms of yardage allowed. They allow about 160 per game, and on an average 5.3 yards per carry. So Saquon Barkley is looking very, very good, averaging just under 25 attempts per game. And on those attempts, he per game is averaging 115.2 yards. Should be a pretty free matchup. The Detroit Lions defense is terrible. They can't put up a fight. And I have another under this week. Aaron Jones, under 60.5 rush yards. The Titans defense is, I guess, the opposite of Detroit. They are second best, as they allow the second least amount of rush yards per game. And when Aaron Jones does go off, he goes crazy. But it's not the most common thing in the world, especially this season. Green Bay is not playing that well. And this will be also thrown into my Thursday Night Football play that I will put on my TikTok come Thursday morning. So yeah, those are my 4 plays. They have 3 plays. Did you guys come up with a deal in a sense if you guys do get your 3 out of 3s?
Like, is it a joint deal or is it just?
Okay, so if one of you wins, you guys both win.
Oh.
Okay, so if one of us gets like 3 out of 3, are you still planning on buying like that Jordan Poole jersey?
I don't know if it's Jordan Poole, but Jordan Poole, Klay. In the future, I want to sometime.
All right, so if you do end up getting a Warriors jersey, you got to go around like campus, and whenever anyone compliments you on like your jersey, you got to be like, "Oh yeah, I love him. He's my boyfriend."
Okay, I could do that. That's not too bad. You agree with that?
Sure, yeah.
Well, you could have another one.
Oh.
Yeah.
I thought we were gonna get a prize, so I was thinking like, oh, you can eat sushi. That was my first
How about
thought.
both? You know,
Yeah.
See the way she thinks?
I can change mine all you can eat sushi too. Actually,
Okay, but if we're doing that, no, I cannot. You don't make all you can eat sushi worth.
oh,
No, I'm just kidding.
I'll eat enough for all 3 of us.
Most of us?
Yeah.
All right, we'll see. Right now, we're gonna go with the Jordan. All right, not the Jordan Poole, but Jordan Poole, Klay, Steph, whichever one it goes. Pretty light. And then I just want to say real quick, thank you to Minh-Tu for hopping on. We're gonna have Jason and Matt finish off the segment when it comes to the NBA, as we are currently switching from NFL to NBA. So thank you, Minh-Tu. Okay, so welcome back. Now we are introducing Matt to the podcast. He took Minh-Tu's spot. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, say my name.
Yeah, name, where are you from?
Matt. I'm from the Bay Area. Yeah.
Nice. So as you can tell, they're all from the Bay Area. No bias. No, I'm just kidding. There's gonna be a bias, but I don't have too much on MLB this week. I'm gonna talk next week about reactions to the free agency that's going on and who's signing with who. We do know Rizzo, just re-signed today, so that's a relief. But we'll be following that a little bit later. As for now, for the NBA, we kind of want to talk on the Warriors. These guys love the Warriors. As you can tell, Jason is not wearing that. Were you wearing that earlier?
No, I was not.
No, I was about to say.
I had to change.
Yeah. We took a little bit of a break to let Matt come in, but we've watched a couple Warriors games here and there. What do you guys think about Klay Thompson and Jordan Poole? Who should be starting, and is it time to move Klay or just move him to the bench?
You don't take that?
Honestly, I have faith in Klay. You know, he's been here for so long. He's been doing good. He's just not been playing well recently. And then we actually did win yesterday without Klay Thompson being in the game and Jordan Poole starting over him. And I think it might just be a confidence thing. But I still think Klay Thompson fits better with our starters than Jordan Poole does. And I think Jordan Poole, we need him off the bench. We need that extra spark off the bench. Because nobody else is going to handle the ball off the bench. We just need Jordan Poole to step it up when he is on the bench. And we need everybody else on the bench to step it up too. Hopefully Dante DiVincenzo is doing a lot better now that he's back. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I think I'll just echo what he said. Honestly, though, I do think that Klay Thompson does need some time.
On the bench?
No. Well, actually, yeah, on the bench. That's what I mean. Yeah. I do think he needs
Okay.
some time on the bench. Just to recollect himself and like, I don't know, man.
Remember who he used to be.
He needs to do some thinking. Like he needs to get into. I don't know.
Did you see his reaction to? I don't remember who it was. Was it Chuck? Who was like saying that obviously Klay's not who he used to be and won't get there, and then Klay was kind of hurt.
Yeah.
Do you think like Klay will ever get back there if you give him enough time, or is this the best he'll get and he'll only go down from here?
I don't think it's the best he'll get. I think he can get better, but it's gonna take a long time. Like it's not only just a physical battle and like healing and getting into the groove of things, but it's also like that mental battle of like confidence. And I think Jordan Poole has been on that high after winning a championship, and so he's getting like a little bit riskier, and so he's also been working on his ball handling and like everything, like literally everything, like his 3-pointers. So it's just they're just in different places right now. Yeah,
that's fair. Do you think a change needs to happen with the rest of the team, like Draymond, anything else there? I know you might have a bigger opinion on this one.
I think Draymond needs to, step it up, keep taking those shots, because if he's not taking any shots, everyone's going to expect him to pass, and that makes him obviously a lot less effective when his whole thing is passing. So we need him to keep being aggressive. And he has been, like the last 2 games, he's been steadily stepping it up. And I feel like that Jordan Poole thing, he was getting a little bit scared to like handle the ball after they implemented that change where carries were called a lot more often than they used to be. And yeah, who else needs to step it up? Oh, Andrew Wiggins, Kevin Looney, they've been doing great. Like they've like surpassed every single expectation we've added them.
Yeah, Wiggins has been playing pretty well. I've been following his props. He's like surpassing it every time, so it's pretty good.
That's what I like to see.
Okay, and then I have a different question. Who do you think is the best big man in the game now?
Best big man.
Oh man.
And then I have one a good comparison later for Matt. I want to see how his biases play out, but this one's good.
Does Giannis count as a big man?
Sure.
All right, I say Giannis. That's my boy. Yeah, I think he's the best big man. You can't stop him.
How about if he wasn't in there?
If he wasn't in there, I gotta say Jokic.
I was about to say Jokic.
Yeah, it has to be Jokic.
I want to go Joel Embiid after his kind of insane game.
The 2K stat line game.
But I mean, I think Jokic is better, but right now Embiid's kind of taking over. So, in the long run, I think Jokic is better. But who's been the most impressive team to you guys so far?
Has to be the Jazz.
Yeah.
Honestly, I haven't been watching, but I'll take the word for it.
I mean, me neither, to be honest. Like, not too many games. I do know that their record stands for something. And then most impressive player so far. Like, it doesn't need to be like, I don't know, you don't gotta dive too deep.
Dive too deep?
Yes, into it. Dude, I really couldn't think of that.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah. I think for me, if you guys want like the examples, I think it has to be all the rookies are doing like absolutely insane. Macaro is crazy. Yeah, Jaden Ivey's insane. Obviously I predicted him to be rookie of the year, but Paolo's stupid. Yeah. And then Keegan Murray's doing pretty good on the Kings. But yeah, if you guys don't have any like answers for that one, I have a better question that might like spark a better reaction.
Oh, really?
Most underwhelming player.
Most underwhelming
Oh my
player?
goodness.
Oh.
Take your time.
Okay, you know what? I think James Harden.
Really?
Yeah, dude. I think James Harden and Kyrie Irving.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Kyrie not playing no more.
Yeah, he's
Yeah,
not playing
he-
anymore. But
That's the problem.
I
He's
feel
not
like
playing.
I feel like he's been underwhelming for the past few years,
Yeah.
and I think James Harden's he's getting washed a little too. Like
He's too old.
oh, LeBron, dude,
that's fair.
dude, LeBron.
I was about to say Westbrook, but the last few games he's had, he's been pretty good off the bench.
Westbrook. Okay. Yeah, I like Westbrook. Touched on that last week. But how about your MVP so far?
MVP.
Like, okay, MVP so far, and then who you want to win it. So for me, kind of both of them work. I wanted Luka to win it at the start. I predicted it, and then also I still think he's my MVP so far.
I think I was also about to say Luka for my MVP. But the one I really want to win is Steph Curry.
I know. I was
You
about to say Steph Curry too. Like he's been carrying the past few games,
For real.
and he's just too good. He's
Okay.
a cheat code. But who I want to win it? Trae Young. I want Trae Young.
Wait. That leads into what I want to do next. This was actually going to come after the power rankings, but since you say that, I want to do the rapid fire player versus player comparison. And because of you guys this week, I wanted it to be Trae Young. So it's Trae Young versus whoever I say.
Okay.
And these are good players. Obviously, it's going to go from harder to easier to harder. They'll get a little bit more balanced out. He's averaging 26 points per game, 9 assists, and 30 rebounds, if you want to keep that in mind. So first one's Steph.
Steph Curry for sure.
I'm sorry, Trae. That was quick. That was quick.
Trey's out of here. Luka for sure.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I'm serious.
Steph. I'm saying Steph.
Wait.
Oh, no, it's
against
still
Trae.
against Trae Young.
Oh, it's still
Yeah.
just.
Yeah.
Okay. Luka, yeah.
Okay. So as of now, the Mavericks won that trade.
Yeah,
Okay.
definitely.
Okay, John Morant.
John Morant.
Nah, Trae.
I got Joe.
Trae.
Yeah.
Okay. Shy or Shea.
Ooh. I think
I'll
I'll
say
go Trae.
Yeah.
But Shea's been playing
I'm thinking
crazily.
Shea.
Yeah, he's not bad.
He's not
I
bad.
wasn't saying my opinion. I would go Steph, Luka, Ja, and then SGA there. How about Dame?
Ooh.
Damian Lillard's been playing pretty well, actually.
Yeah, but he doesn't get the spotlight he deserves.
I'm going to go with Dame.
I'm gonna say Trae.
You see
I'm
how
gonna
I
say
said?
Trae.
His audience goes on.
Okay, CP3.
Trae.
Oh, I think maybe Chris Paul would be my pick for like most disappointing. He hasn't playing that well
Oh,
this
that's
year.
true.
I completely forgot about that. So I'll go Trae.
Trae. Okay, and then Kyrie. Okay, my last two were Kyrie and James Harden.
I'll pick Trae over them.
Trae over both?
Yeah.
Yeah, Trae.
Okay, I would also put Trae over CP3, Kyrie, and James Harden. But I'm going to keep Dame just because of his history, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, that's funny. I was thinking, like, I can't do Steph because Steph's better than everyone, right?
Yeah.
So then I was like,
You
okay,
gotta start off
maybe
easy.
Matt would like Trae, yeah. Okay, and then let's hop into the top 10 power rankings. I can go first, and then we'll just go down from there.
Yeah, I got it.
I have the Boston Celtics at number 1 now, and then the Milwaukee Bucks, the Denver Nuggets, Utah Jazz, the Trailblazers, the Mavericks, the Phoenix Suns, the Cavaliers, and the 76ers. Last week I had the Jazz higher. They're slowly going to go down. That's my prediction. They rode their high, and I think slowly it's going to go away. But give it 2 weeks, and Miami will be in there.
Oh, yeah?
You think so?
Yeah,
I
2
think
weeks.
that's a lot of
Two
lot of
weeks.
hope for a team that's a...
No, it's all right.
Hey,
to be fair, though,
watch what you say. Watch what you
Sorry,
say.
I don't even know words here.
All right, you guys want to go?
All right.
You go.
All right, I'll
Let's
go.
down the line.
I also agree with like the top 3, Celtics, Bucks, Nuggets, in that order.
Mhm.
But then after that, I got the Cavs, then the Jazz, then the Blazers, then the Suns, then the Raptors, then the Grizzlies, and then 76ers at 10.
Okay. Yeah, the Raptors are an
Interesting.
insane defense.
Yeah, I think Raptors are a lot better than their record says.
I think we're watching a different NBA.
Yeah.
But I think like top 3 out of 2 are the same ones. Like, well, okay, I put Warriors number 1. Obviously, you gotta stay loyal to
I
your
was gonna do
roots.
that,
You gotta
but
stay
then
loyal to
the
your
record
roots.
doesn't say
I don't
much right
care.
now.
I don't care what
Right,
the
this
rankings say right now.
His power ranking. He
You're
can do
right.
This is my power ranking.
Wait, can I put my Warriors at the top 2 then?
Nah. Don't be a bandwagon.
Oh, I'm sorry. I can't be a bandwagon.
Warriors number 1. Then I put Celtics. Then I put Bucks. Then I put Suns, Jazz, Mavs, Cavs, Nuggets, and then I put Heat and Hawks.
Yeah.
Heat and
All right,
Hawks.
he's already there. But yeah, okay. Last question. After the reaction to all of those, if you guys could make one trade from the Warriors to another team to fix your problems or make you guys better, right? But it has to be a fair trade. You guys can't do like, oh, I'm gonna trade.
That's tough.
I don't know who's your worst player. Like,
I don't know.
I'm gonna trade. Oh, okay, not saying he's the worst player, but I'm gonna trade Wiseman for like 80, right? You can't do that. It has to be somewhat fair. You guys can go on your phone and look.
Yeah, I'm looking real quick.
I'm gonna do one for the Heat, who I think we could do better.
You do that one first, so we got time to look at the Warriors roster. I feel like one trade's not going to fix everything, obviously.
From the Warriors?
Mm-hmm.
I think Patrick Baldwin Jr. is our worst. Unfortunately. But I have hope in his growth as a person. Oh, Ryan Rollins.
Yeah, I don't even know these names. These are crazy.
I don't think anybody would take those trades.
So I guess I'll go first. Everybody's been talking about Max Strus and Jay Crowder linked in a trade. As good as Crowder was, and he's like a very lock-up defender, I prefer we don't get rid of Max Strus quite yet. I think we can develop him a lot more. He's a really good role player and really does his job every game. We already didn't get Donovan Mitchell, so I feel like we need to surround Jimmy Butler with like other players that are solid. Donovan Mitchell would have been, I guess he's not really like a spot up shooter, but if you give him Tyler Herro, Jimmy Butler some more shooters around them, it's easy. And I don't think Jay Crowder really fits into that. But with that being said, besides the whole shooter thing, I think Julius Randle's being linked to the Miami Heat right now, and I could see him being traded to the Heat. I don't know who we'd give up. I feel like at this point they're gonna want I'm seeing Kyle Lowry, Duncan Robinson, all those guys named in there. I don't want to get rid of Duncan Robinson, but if the trade was on the table for Kyle Lowry and Duncan Robinson, I'm taking it. But at the same time, I don't know how that's gonna work with Julius Randle and Bam at the same time. Because right now I feel like we have a solid team. Stuff's just not clicking yet. But yeah, so I would look for Julius Randle in my trade.
Julius Randle. Interesting.
How about you?
Honestly, I'm really bad at whenever I played 2K, I never really fit in my GM,
You're good.
I don't really know how to make these trades.
We'll make it easier. How about one player you would want to see play on the Warriors?
One player I would.
Okay, that's easier.
I just thought of this question right now.
Yeah, I think over the offseason, I really wanted Christian Wood before he obviously got traded to the Mavs. Yeah.
Okay, that's fair because you guys need a big man, right?
Yeah, we need a big man off the bench. So that would be my pick.
I'm not sure.
I'm not sure.
I mean, I was thinking maybe. I don't know how Chris Paul will fit into the Warriors, but I feel like
also, I'm not a big fan of Chris Paul.
Yeah, but I feel like he needs a ring.
You just want to get that man a ring.
And then I guess did you guys hear about the links between Dwight Howard and the Warriors?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
you hear about that?
Is that true?
Before he went to, I think he's playing on a Taiwanese team right now. I saw a TikTok about him saying that he wanted to be on the Warriors and he could coach up Wiseman as a veteran. And the only reason why I say this right now is because my perspective was he just wants a ring.
Yeah.
And somebody like CP3, right? But let's be honest, CP3's not getting his ring.
No,
he's playing right now. But yeah, that's all I had. Thank you guys so much for helping out today. Thank you to Matt. Thank you to Jason.
Thanks for having us.
Yep, anytime. You guys will see these guys back later this week probably, but on the other segment that I have where we just chilling and eating and talking about random stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll put all of the all their socials, them and Minh-Tu, in the description below. I'll put the PrizePick link there, and yeah, we'll talk about more sports and predictions next time. Thank you.
Nice.
Cool. Thank you.